30 years after a masked killer first picked up a phone and asked, "What's your favorite scary movie?" Ghostface is not just back, he is breaking records, and the horror world is screaming louder than ever. Scream 7 opened in US theaters on the 27th of February 2026 and wasted no time making history. The film earned $7.8 million in Thursday night previews alone, surpassing the previous franchise record of $5.7 million set by Scream VI in 2023. By Friday, including previews, the film had already hauled in $28 million domestically. When the dust settled over opening weekend, Scream 7 posted a staggering $59 million domestic debut, the biggest opening weekend in the franchise's three-decade history, decisively dethroning Scream Z's $44.4 million record. Heading into release, Paramount had projected a $40 million opening, a figure that would have already been enough to claim the top spot for the year to date. The National Research Group had been more optimistic at $45 million. Neither projection came close to what audiences actually delivered. The film is playing across 3,540 theaters in North America and has rolled out in 52 international markets including Australia, Brazil, France, Germany, Italy, Mexico, Spain, and the United Kingdom, with 7 additional markets still to follow. Globally, the film is targeting a $60 million launch. The engine driving this remarkable performance is, by nearly every measure, the return of Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. Campbell had sat out Scream VI entirely following a salary dispute with Spyglass Media, a departure that left a noticeable void in the franchise's soul. Her comeback for the 7th installment was the single most celebrated story in Scream 7's promotional campaign, and audiences rewarded it immediately. Pre-release social media analytics from Relish Mix placed Scream 7's combined reach across TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at 264.5 million, running 11% above horror franchise norms. Campbell herself brought 672,000 active social followers to the conversation, while co-star Courtney Cox, with 20.7 million fans, remained in pre-activation mode heading into the weekend. The story Scream 7 tells centers on Sidney Prescott, now living a quieter suburban life with her daughter Tatum, played by Isabel May, a name deliberately chosen to echo Rose McGowan's Tatum from the original 1996 film. A new Ghostface killer emerges and makes both Sidney and Tatum targets, forcing Sidney to pass on everything she has survived to the next generation. Courtney Cox returns alongside Campbell as Gail Weathers, reprising the iconic reporter role she has held since the very beginning. The film also brings back Mason Gooding and Jasmine Savoy Brown as siblings Chad and Mindy Meeks Martin, fan favorites from the 2 most recent revival entries. In a move that stunned many, Scream 7 also resurrects David Arquette as Dewey Riley, completes the original legacy trio, and pulls Matthew Lillard and Scott Foley back into the fold as Stu Marker and Roman Bridger respectively. The path to this triumphant opening was anything but smooth. The production endured a turbulent year that pushed back its original release schedule and inflated its budget from the $35 million spent on Scream VI to a final net cost of $45 million, co-financed equally by Paramount and Spyglass. The upheaval began in late 2023 when Melissa Barrera, who had starred as one of the franchise's new leads in both Scream 2022 and Scream VI, was fired by Spyglass after sharing social media posts accusing Israel of genocide and ethnic cleansing amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Jenna Ortega, her on-screen sister and co-lead, had already quietly departed the film due to scheduling conflicts with her Netflix series Wednesday, though that news only became public after Barrera's firing. Director Christopher Landon, who had been set to helm the sequel, subsequently exited after receiving death threats from fans angered by Barrera's removal despite having had no involvement in Spyglass's decision. The combination of departures left the project without its leads, its director, and a clear creative direction. Into that vacuum stepped Kevin Williamson, the man who wrote the original Scream screenplay in 3 days in the mid-1990s and helped resurrect a genre that Hollywood had all but declared dead. For Scream 7, Williamson took on both directing duties, marking his feature directorial debut, and co-wrote the script alongside Guy Busick. His involvement, framed as a homecoming for the franchise, became central to the film's marketing identity and gave fans a powerful reason to trust the product, even amid the cast shakeup. A trailer released in October 2025 leaned hard into that nostalgia, showcasing Sydney in survival mode and teaching Tatum the rules of staying alive. A Super Bowl spot further underscored just how seriously David Ellison's new Paramount regime views the franchise as a flagship property. One complication heading into opening weekend was Scream 7's critical reception. The film landed a 37% score on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, a franchise low, raising questions about whether poor reviews might blunt audience enthusiasm. The answer, delivered emphatically by the box office numbers, was no. As of Friday morning, the audience score sat at 76%, a figure studios generally like to see above 80, but one that proved sufficient to avoid catastrophic word-of-mouth damage. Horror, and Scream in particular, has long demonstrated a degree of immunity to critical consensus, drawing audiences on the strength of brand loyalty, franchise investment, and the communal experience of watching people in peril. The opening also arrives at a significant moment for Paramount. The studio learned just hours before Scream 7's debut weekend that the path had been cleared for David Ellison's Skydance-led Paramount to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery, a deal that sent PSKY stock up more than 21%. Scream 7's record-breaking performance handed the new administration a very public win at a pivotal corporate moment, one they did not engineer but will happily accept. The timing carries its own kind of poetry. The original Scream hit theaters on the 20th of December 1996, meaning Ghostface is stalking audiences in the middle of his own 30th anniversary year. Williamson wrote that first script in 3 days, at a moment when Hollywood had essentially declared horror dead. What followed was a resurrection and a permanent reshaping of the genre's DNA. 30 years later, fans online are drawing direct lines between Sidney Prescott and Halloween's Laurie Strode, treating this latest chapter not as a sequel but as mythology. The franchise didn't survive 3 decades by accident. It survived because Sidney did. For Scream 7, the record opening is a vindication of Campbell's return, of Williamson's creative stewardship, and of a franchise that refused to be murdered by its own behind-the-scenes chaos. Whether the film legs out beyond its opening weekend will depend on how that 76% audience score holds and how sustained the conversation remains. Scream 7 also marks a franchise first in one technical respect. It is the inaugural installment to screen in IMAX, as well as across all other available premium formats, expanding the canvas on which Ghostface operates in ways the original could never have anticipated. After 30 years, Sidney Prescott is still picking up the phone. Apparently, so is everyone else. Now it is your turn. Did you catch Scream 7 this opening weekend? And do you think Sidney's story deserves another chapter, or is it finally time to hang up the mask for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more box office deep dives, franchise breakdowns, and everything happening in Hollywood right now, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story.